What's up, college football fans and Mean Green fans? Sonoy Valenta here once again with the Mean Green Show. Today, joined by Miles, and we are going to preview a little bit of the North Texas 2023 football schedule, as well as talk about spring ball that is coming up here in, I believe, less than a week. So before we get into all that, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football or G5 football, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that is truly all that we talk about. All right, Miles. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. I know it's been a little while. How you been?
Been pretty good. It's been really busy just the past few days, past few weeks with work and all that stuff. But North Texas basketball as well. Disappointing in last week, but doing good. I'm excited for spring ball. That's for sure. I'm really excited to see what they have, especially to see what new things they implement. And I'm really excited for week one. So I can't. I'm already pumped like I am every year, but this year's a little bit different. New coach, new staff, some new players. I'm excited to see what we got.
Yeah, likewise. So kind of looking forward into September, going over the schedule. Coach Morris's first inaugural game is, at home against a Power Five opponent in Cal, and Coach Blesh, coming back to Denton for that one. So that'll be interesting. So you have Cal at FIU, at Louisiana Tech, Abilene Christian at Apogee, then go to Navy and then Temple. That is the first 6 games. And man, that's, it's a lot of winnable games there, probably outside of Cal, but I think that first 6, I got them going 4-2, possibly 5-1. If they could get hot, that'd be good. I think Navy, Navy's always kind of tricky, but with a new coach, hopefully they won't be as polished on that triple option or whatever they end up doing this year. And potentially coming out of that at 5-1, then it gets a bit tougher going to New Orleans to play Tulane, Memphis, UTSA at SMU, then followed up by Tulsa and UAB. But those 4 teams: Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, and SMU. Gosh, man, Tulane's coming off the championship for the American. They won it all. We saw what happened against Memphis last year. UTSA is bringing back everybody, and the only thing I can say about SMU is we're playing in November, so I don't know, but they do have Preston Stone, who I think potentially might have a higher ceiling than Mordecai. So, oh man, let's say you go through that first at optimistically at 5-1, and then you go through those 4, got to win one of them, and then
You can go 2-4.
Yeah, or 2-2 out of Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, and SMU. Is that what you're saying?
If we go 2-2 out of that, I would be like extremely happy because there's I don't know. That's really hypothetically it's hard to say what North Texas is gonna do with this all new stuff. But if we can go 2-2 in that stretch, I'm calling that a season a win. I don't care what bowl you get to. That's a win because those are that's a gauntlet right there.
Yeah,
That's a
that is
4-game gauntlet.
Yeah, I would take 2-2 against those 4 teams for sure. Then finishing up at Tulsa, and then UAB comes to North Texas. I think Tulsa and UAB and North Texas are all kind of around the same level. If you're asking me, especially with UAB having a new first-year head coach, Tulsa has a first-year head coach too, don't they?
Yeah, I forget his name.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting though to see how all the programs have meshed with their new head coaches at the end of the year, but. I usually don't do this, but just to be somewhat optimistic, I'm gonna say 7-5. I think that's just what I'm gonna go with, and hope for the best here. I think they get their wins from at FIU, at Louisiana Tech, Abilene Christian, Navy, Temple. That's 5 in a row right there. If they win all those, which hopefully could set them up for that 4-team gauntlet, and I'm gonna say they just get one of those wins out of that Tulane, Memphis, UTSA at SMU. I think they get one win there, and then the Tulsa UAB. I think they split that for a 7-5. But anyway, Miles, real quick, your thoughts on the schedule and what do you think? What are your predictions?
Well, this is my pre-spring prediction. I know we have 2 of these, so you looking at it. I'm looking at all the American teams that are playing this year, and I'm looking at their schedule. I can't find a harder schedule than ours. Honestly, looking at it, the 4-game stretch makes it the hardest, and we're going to Navy. It's hard to win at Navy. Not many people do. Remember when number 3 Houston played at Navy in 2016? They lost. I mean, looking at a lot of these teams that we're playing, I mean, we're lucky to have a great home schedule this year. Last year's home schedule was not very solid, but this year hosting some really good teams. Honestly, you know, I don't know. I just can't tell what they're going to do, especially with the Cal game, because I feel like that might set the tempo for the season. If they can win it, if they can win that game, you know, you're going to beat FIU, you're going to beat La Tech, you're going to beat Abilene Christian. You better be Abilene Christian. You got to beat Navy. Navy came off like a 2-win season last year, and then Temple. I mean, you got to be able to beat Temple. So honestly, if you there's 5-6 winnable games in that first 6 games. If you cannot win, I wouldn't say if you should be able to win at least 5, and then you're set. You just need one more game for bowl eligibility. That's not too bad, especially with the stretch. I mean, honestly, Tulsa and UAB I think are more winnable games. But then again, UAB with a whole different staff, with Trent Dilfer at their coach. I'm excited to see what UAB has for that as well. But honestly, this is going to be a really it's good. I don't think we're not going to be at the level that us fans want, and they wanted under Latrell until at least 2 or 3 more years from now, in my opinion. Hopefully, they can prove me wrong. But at the same time, I'm going to say a nice 6-6. I think it's going to be really tough, especially with our bye week. You look at our bye week is week 4,
Right
so
before Abilene
that's
Christian.
really tough. That is so you get a bye week and then you play an easy team, and then all of a sudden you're just going through conference play completely straight, and that's the toughest part. That's going to be the mental aspect of North Texas. Can they get past that early bye week and still be healthy, have enough depth on the team to continue to play out this whole season? Because once you get to that, let's say that SMU game, there's a good chance if we don't have depth, we're not going to be able to even compete at all. And that's what scares me. And it's a Friday night too. It's a short week coming off of a rivalry game against UTSA. That just makes it even harder. And I look at it and I just get more scared each time I look at that, because a short week after a rival back to another rival, that's tough. And that's going to be if from what I've seen with Coach Morris and how they're using the strength and condition, how they're using this time right now to get prepared, I have a little bit more faith, but at the same time, I just don't know. We're so in the unknown right now because we haven't seen anything yet, obviously.
Yeah. All right. Well, kind of looking forward to spring football, which starts, I believe, Monday. I don't have the spring football schedule up, but
yes, I'm pretty sure.
I think that's the case. As far as the transfers coming in, I believe Ethan Miner is the only offensive lineman that won't be here for spring football. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the case. I believe Larry Moore is here, and as well as Vaipulu.
They were here like when they signed, and they got here like within like a day.
Yeah. So I think it'll be good to see, how they mesh in with the current offensive line and Gabe Blair and a few of the others. I think we have another chance to have a pretty solid offensive line, even in the American.
Cole Brown is a
yeah.
question mark right now.
Yeah.
From what Brett Vito tweeted, he's a question mark of injury, and then John Davis is the eligibility question. So we need Cole Brown back. If we can get him back this year, that'll be huge.
Yeah, that would be helpful. That would be pretty big piece to keep. So I'm interested to see how that plays out, and then obviously once Ethan Miner gets here, I believe he'll probably find his way somewhere in the one spot. But we'll see, at least one.
He's a guard, is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
So because Moore is a tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say Cole Brown does not play. Do you think Larry Brown gets that number 1 spot? Or do I guess we probably need to see Larry Moore, not Brown. Larry Moore. Do you think he'll get that number 1 spot? Because I feel like he could.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely could. I guess the only thing is, I mean, I don't really think he has a lot of film at Tech, so I don't know. I mean, I think he could, but it's good to have him here to very much potentially get that starting spot. But got to see, what happens in spring and see, who else maybe, might step up. But I think it's very possible.
Yeah.
But, keeping on the offensive side of the ball, also, see how Trey Cleveland, meshes in with the receivers and kind of biggest thing, obviously seeing how Chandler Rogers, see how he plays. I mean, I think that's going to be the biggest factor in this thing. If he comes in, and I think he's going to be the guy. I think he's going to win the spot in the spring. We have a new coach, but every single, even though he's new to North Texas, Chandler Rogers, I mean, everybody, all the QBs are new to this system. So I think it's a pretty even slate as far as that goes. And I just, he's got the biggest body of work to pull from. And I think he's going to come out being the guy. And that'll be interesting. But, what are your thoughts on the offensive side of the ball?
There's less question marks, and that's a good thing. It's a great thing they have less question marks. I think the quarterback position is something that I'm not as worried about this year. And you might be like, why? That seems ridiculous. You would say that. Well, you don't have to worry about a liability like Austin Ani. Ani's a great guy. He's a pretty good passer. He broke some school records, but at the same time, a liability. I think you have Rodgers, you have the system that Morris is implementing. And if you can have a guy like Rodgers, even I would assume Stone Earl is another guy that will compete for the spot. Besides him, maybe I don't know about Jace Ruder. I really need to. I'm ready for spring to be able to watch what they're doing. That's what I need to see because I haven't watched any of their practices because they're not really practicing. But honestly, it's gonna be a. They're gonna have to have the defense to help them out because I feel like this offense is gonna be able to score a lot more points. You're bringing back Jair Shorter. You're bringing back the third, I would say, a top 2 tight end in the state of Texas and Marquise Gums, according to Dave Campbell's football, who's number 3. I think they have the weapons, and if they can get Cole Brown back on the left tackle, or is it right, whichever one it is, if they can get him back too, this is going to be a really, really good offensive side of the ball. You have depth at running back, Akaika Ragsdale, Oscar Attaway, who should be back from his stuff, his unfortunate injury. Hopefully he can be fully healthy this year. If he's fully healthy with Io Adei as well as Akaika Ragsdale and Isaiah Johnson, that's going to be a really, really good backfield. And there shouldn't be any questions on the offensive side of the ball besides like who's going to start at quarterback, offensive line things, and that's really it. Because you look at the receivers, they're set there too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so kind of going over to the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if it's confirmed, but I think it was Vito who tweeted out the Tom Tree probably walking away from football.
Yes,
so,
he's done.
Yeah,
that's what they said. Him and someone else.
Yeah.
Keelan Crosby.
That's right. So, really, as far as Tree goes, I think that's a pretty unfortunate loss. I know the production wasn't as crazy as maybe we all anticipated, but still really good guy, made some big plays and some big moments. And I think it would have been really beneficial to have him again on the defensive line, if not in a starting role, at least, as a 2 guy, and a 2 guy on the, the defensive line plays just as much as the number 1 guy. So anyway, but the return of Mason Richards, and I think year 2 for Cam Robertson is going to be really good. And, Enoch getting in, another year coming in.
Rod Brown.
Yes, Rod Brown, of course. I can't forget Rod Brown, but I think the D-line has a chance to be pretty solid, not to mention, the young guys that they're bringing in. So that'll be interesting. And then going to the linebackers, I know we're losing KD, but Nixon, this is his last year of eligibility, or this
is his last year. He's been playing here for a long time. He's a full out senior this year, so I don't think he has another year left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I think it's really good that he's coming back. I think we could expect a pretty good season from him. The only thing is a new defensive scheme for all of them, so we'll see how that goes. And we've kind of been cursed with a 3-3-5, so hopefully they do it a bit differently under Capone. So, and then defensive backs. I know we got a lot of good recruits. They're all freshmen though, so I'm not sure how much they'll contribute year 1, aside from Damon Youngblood, who's transferring in from Louisiana Lafayette, or I think that's where he's coming from.
Lafayette, yeah.
But anyway, what are your thoughts on the defensive side of the ball, Miles?
It kind of worries me, especially in the secondary. We have some really talented guys: Rich Tejada, Logan Wilson, one of my personals. And then you have there's more questions. And you lose Jashawn Gaddy, you lose Quinn Whitlock. Those are 2 guys that weren't the ultimate best, but they were guys that made plays, and they were more experienced. Now we're bringing in guys that aren't as experienced or have literally no experience at all. I mean, and you're gonna have guys like Harold West in bigger roles, Jalen Williams possibly in a bigger role as a sophomore, and then you got it's just that and the linebackers. I mean, you lost your biggest productive defensive player in years because Katie Davis put up unbelievable tackle numbers, tackle for losses, constantly making plays all around the field, especially in that UTSA championship game. That guy was even though we lost by whatever that final score is, don't even think about it. He made a lot of plays. And that's the biggest key. You're losing your captain, your senior. You're losing someone that made all these plays, and now you got to replace it. And you have to have guys like Kevin Woods step up and be not and continue to be healthy the entire season. You have to have other guys. I was just looking at the linebackers, and I just thought, Carson Krupp. I think it's another guy that could have a big potential this year, especially when we have this newer defense under Capone. It's going to be more important, especially going against these faster receivers. Because Tulane last year, they were super fast. They were knocking out SMU defensive backs like nothing, and SMU's knocking us out like nothing. So it just shows that we have to be able to step up in those positions, and it might be a little bit of a struggle. But that first game of the year against Cal will be definitely telling to see how this team can play in this conference. But the defensive line looks fine, honestly. I was very disappointed, like you said, that Tom Trebe stepped away, but that's his own business, and I wish him the best of luck. But that would have been really important to have him. But same again, Mason Richards is a freaking beast. He's going to be all over like he was last year. So I'm excited to see what this defense has, and I'm excited to see if our first game is at 11 a.m. on ESPN, and we're all flying out of Apogee because I saw that little prediction from Matt Sars. Said 11 a.m. kickoff against Cal on ESPN. I had to throw it in there. I kind of mix it in. I just found that funny. I was like, this is bad. It'll be good for exposure, bad for the fans. But
yeah. Well, all right, Miles. Well, hey, once again, I appreciate it. I'm sure we'll talk again as spring ball, continues to move along here, and just kind of see and talk about what happens. But as always, go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.